Hey guys, Corey here from the design team over at Evalicious, and I have a process video for you today showing you my process of how I go from just a rough sketch to a scrapbook layout. It's kind of fun and super easy to do, so when you get stuck, you might want to try it. The first thing I did, of course, was to go and pull out a bunch of supplies that I thought would work with my photograph. So I pulled out these journaling cards from the So Daily line, along with the badge buttons and the little tags that go with that line as well. I also went ahead and pulled out some other tags from the document line, and then the little clouds. I thought they were really cute. I never know exactly what I'm going to use. I just have an idea, but I did want to make sure that I had enough things that matched the color scheme. My next step is to draw out a rough sketch. So I just drew this with the block going through the center, right here, the photograph going there, different elements going across underneath the photo, and the title, which is going to be Tough Girls. I also made a couple of little notes about how I wanted a stitched edge, where was I going to put my journaling, and some different color splatters that I was going to put on there, just to kind of give me an idea of, or a blueprint of how I could go on. So I was starting with white cardstock, which just seemed a little too stark. So one way to kind of tone it down that I like to do is to paint on with Heidi Swapp's Gold Lame Color Shine. It just gives the paper not only a little bit of a sheen, but it just tones down the white a little bit and gives it a nice, pretty neutral hue. Once the whole page is done, I did use my heat gun to kind of help it out, drying it up a little bit. I don't like to wait, so now that that's done, I'm going to use my 4 journaling cards layered across the center as the block from my sketch instead of using patterned paper. To give them a little bit of dimension, I just kind of bend them a little bit and lay them out how I want to see them on the page. As I was laying out my cards, I kept bumping them and moving them, and I actually was getting a little bit annoyed because I couldn't get things to stay, which is part of the problem when you don't adhere things down right away. So to solve this little issue, I went ahead and cut a piece of scratch paper, and what I decided to do was to glue everything onto this strip of scratch paper so that it would not be moving all over while I was doing different embellishing and such. It actually worked out really great. And then in the end, I just glue that whole piece of scratch paper down. One thing I noticed when I was gluing all the little journaling cards down was that the back sides were decorated too. I don't know how I missed that the first time I took them out, but I did. So I sat there and I'd look through each one just to make sure I'd picked the right side. Luckily, for me, I had already decided that the sides I'd picked were the ones that were right for my page. So I used foam adhesive to pop up my photograph. With having curled the edges of my journaling cards, it was going to be difficult to have it laying flat anyhow, so I definitely wanted to make sure I popped it up on purpose. And I'm adding my title now, which is going to be Tough Girl. We took these photos of her with the intent of making her look really tough, which I thought was cute. So I wanted to get that title in there. Once my thickers are down, I always go back through and stitch them on so they're nice and tight if I don't go ahead and use extra adhesive. The last thing I want is them ever floating around the bottom of a page protector. And now it's just really time to get embellishing with all the great stuff from Evalicious. So I just dumped out the package of little tags and just went through them looking for things that were going to work for a scrapbook page about my tough girl playing soccer. So the star works great, and just cut off the other side. And I just try and lay things out across the bottom of the page, or across the bottom of the journaling cards, which is where I wanted everything in my sketch. From these, the circle tags worked really great in different areas here and there. as I was embellishing, I was really glad that I had put everything down on that piece of scratch paper. Although that itself moved around, it made it a lot easier to adhere things or staple things to just one layer instead of having to go through the background paper as well. What was great about the different embellishments that I had chosen were what some of the little sentiments that they had on there. The star, underneath the star, it says, "You're my star." The circle, the large circle tag to the left of her says "right now," which it is, it's right now. We are heavy into soccer right now. The one to the right of her says "love this" with an arrow pointing towards her. The one right there that I put next to girl says "evidence." So all of these little things just work so great for this picture of her in her soccer stuff. One of the ways that I like to get different dimension onto my page when you're using all flat elements is to use a variety of different ways to get the tags and stuff adhered down. So some of them I'll just use my tape runner, which just leaves it flat. But then there's also foam dots to pop things up, especially over a curled edge, and then you can really give it a nice layered look. Also, I use my tiny attacher all the time. Although it's still just a flat thing, I feel like the staple itself will give it a little bit of extra texture, and sometimes it'll even pop things up just a little bit. It is time to start getting this a little bit more secure, so I just took off the bottom foam adhesive and got my photograph stuck down. So now this block is all together and less is going to be moving around. I love badge buttons, so I pulled out the different ones that I had and I'm adding those as a new layer on top of the different tags. Now they all have some adhesive on them and the adhesive works great, but just to make sure that things are super secure, I just use a little hot glue on each one too. These badge buttons are so cute. They say things like "this moment," "document this," "so you," and then the one right by Tough Girl says "you are," and it just works with the dot dot dot, and it just works so cute with the "you are tough girl." So I really love how this is looking, but I definitely want to pull in some more blue and green from the photograph. So just using blue and green mists, I'm going to do some splattering in the background. I sprayed inside the top and then just let it drip out. I did want some larger blue drops on the paper. Once that was dry, with a little help from my heat gun, I added green splatters. And then I also added a little bit of dark brown splatters as well. The smallest droplets were the brown. Just added a little bit more color. Then I also took some blue ink and just the top from the blue mist and put some little blue circles, layered circles, just to give it a little bit more, visual interest on the background. Then I added a stamp that said "this." It was a word bubble that said "this" in the green, and some clouds just to, kind of do some more customization on my background. The Evalicious stamps are great for that. Lastly, I wanted to use this little journaling block, and that just right down there at the bottom. I didn't know what other journaling I was going to do. At first I thought I was going to have a ton of journaling on this page about her playing soccer, but I really just decided that I was just going to end up with the page basically of her soccer year pictures. Now I probably could have stopped embellishing, but why? When you've got great things like arrow tags and stuff, I decided to add a little bit more. Now this is done. I want to go ahead and get this down. So I'm going to use my foam adhesive for my photo, but then hot glue is really going to help because this is a heavy block. Make sure that it's super secure inside my page protector. My paper, of course, was curling some because of the mist always makes the paper curl a little bit. And I had already taken it and ran it around through my sewing machine 2 times around the edge. To get a little bit more interest at the top of the page, I just added a tag using my stapler, and then also this little file tab is going to work out great up there too. Things going up off the top of the page is so easy because it'll hang out the top of my page protector and it doesn't get in the way, but it definitely is a neat little element. I love this little tag. On it it said life, and I thought it'd be really cool if you could kind of layer with this, so it would be this life. So I figured out a way to make that one work. And just to add a little something under the word girl, I just added this little piece of tag. It was actually the other side of the "You're a Star" tag, so it worked out well to be able to use that. The last thing I wanted to do was to add a little bit more texture, so I found these plain wooden buttons, and I'm just going to tuck them in underneath some of the tags here and there, just so that my elements going across the page just are more than just paper. These I did adhere down with hot glue. I like the plain wooden buttons because although they add a nice little touch to the page, they're not they don't add too much, and they're not too busy because of the natural look of them. The last little one's going to work perfectly right up at the top with those 2 tags. Now that the page was pretty much finished, I decided I was not going to go heavy on the journaling, and I was just going to add in the details of her team and her season. I do a lot of pages on her soccer with different details, so I figured this was really enough for this page. And that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, see you then.